In an all-new Unsolved Florida tonight, an active and beloved mom, aunt, and neighbor was just enjoying her retirement when she was brutally murdered. Her killer has never been caught, and a motive here still puzzles St. Pete police detectives 23 years later. They're calling it a true mystery.
Fox 13's Genevieve Curtis introduces us to Jean Ault, her loved ones, and the St. Petersburg detectives determined to solve her case.
There is a ripple effect when one life is cruelly taken.
Why did this happen? Who did it?
The pain echoes through families.
I still miss my aunt.
And communities.
Everybody wanted justice for Miss Ault, and unfortunately, so far we haven't been able to do that.
Such a ripple began here 23 years ago in the water of this peaceful cove among the mangroves of Coquina Key Park, when Jean Ault's body was discovered on March 23, 2002. The 74-year-old had been bound and beaten to death.
It's a true victim. It's a true mystery.
Mike Kovacev is currently the assistant police chief for the St. Petersburg Police Department. But back in 2002, he was a rookie homicide detective. And this was his first murder case.
This was a very difficult case.
He says it took a few days for them to identify Jean Ault. The avid camper was supposed to meet friends at a campsite in Manatee County. And when she didn't show on Thursday, they reported her missing. Her body was found a few days later.
They found your aunt and she was murdered. I can't even describe, how that, that feeling, it's just really hard to comprehend it.
Peter Forsanito is Jean's nephew. He had a special and cherished relationship with her.
I think it was the adventurous part of her, because I'm kind of that way.
Jean lived in Lakewood Estates. She was a member of the Neighborhood Crime Watch, an avid tennis player. She loved to garden and took care of foster children.
This is one of her camping trips out west in Colorado.
When she retired from working for the state, she bought a camper van and took to the road, volunteering as a national parks greeter to get a free campsite.
And I'm so glad that she got to do some of that before this terrible tragedy, because that was her dream.
In 2002, her neighbor and friend of 35 years, Jack Stubendick, told Fox 13 about Jean's love for that van.
She always said, in that van going down the road, she said, I feel perfectly safe.
She was loading that van and getting ready for her trip when investigators believe she was killed. They retraced her steps that day, the errand she ran, giving them a narrow timeline for the murder. Neighbor Jack Stubendick says she stopped by just before noon to return a book and say goodbye to him and his wife.
She said, I got to put my bike on yet. And then she says, change clothes. She says, I've got to stop up and pick up some pastries. And then I'm on my way to Frog Creek.
Investigators say Jean's lunch was left untouched inside her home. They believe she may have startled a would-be burglar in the garage.
For some reason, an individual approached her in that garage area. A struggle occurred in that area, and she was ultimately taken. Whether she was killed there or killed in the van, which is more likely, but everything occurred in the garage.
The killer then took Jean and her van. She was bound and brutally beaten before being dumped in the water.
It had to have been so terrifying. I mean, in the manner in which she died, it just had to have been horrible.
Jean's murder stunned her close-knit neighborhood, devastated that such a heinous crime could happen in the middle of the day.
I would almost think the person would have to be dang near an animal. I mean, to do something like this.
Her beloved van turned up a few days later at an apartment complex on 54th Avenue South.
We tried to sit on it for a little while to see if anybody would come back. That didn't pan out.
All that was missing from the van was Jean's bike, a Huffy model like this one. Investigators knocked on doors.
Everything, we just kind of kept going down. We just kept hitting dead end after dead end.
Peter says about a year before her murder, his Aunt Jean was worried about some neighbors harassing her, so much so that she thought about moving.
For me, that was a big red flag, because my aunt does not scare very easily. She's a pretty brave person. Something must be going on that's causing her to feel this way.
He also wondered if her role on the neighborhood watch had anything to do with her murder. Investigators say those leads didn't go anywhere, and eventually the case went cold.
Jean's picture's still on our website. We hold ourselves accountable to having that lasting memory to make sure that we don't forget.
I would love to bring closure to the family.
The case is now on the desk of Detective Wallace Pavelski, one of St. Pete's cold case investigators, who hopes new technology could help unlock the mystery.
Things they didn't have available to them back then, I can use now and take a look at it through a better lens now.
He says testing the evidence could cost $10,000 for a single strand of hair. They are working to secure the critical funding because it could mean a new lead.
What's changed now is we have the ability to develop a full DNA profile from it. We can do genealogy on a piece of hair and track back to the suspect from that hair.
The area between Jean's home in Lakewood Estates, Coquina Key, where she was found, and the apartment complex where her van was recovered is an area of South St. Pete investigators think the killer is likely familiar with.
It gives me a good indicator that whoever's involved was probably down in that area.
They're hoping someone may have seen the killer driving Jean's van.
Maybe they saw who was driving it, maybe they know who was involved. I just need that one bit of information, and if I get that, I may be able to connect the remaining DNA evidence to that person.
Jean's only daughter, Sue, and her sister, Linda, died without knowing what happened to her. Peter is searching for the closure they never got.
Certainly can't give up. There's still hope out there that, something might come up where we can solve this.
Jean's presence is still felt among those who knew her in Lakewood Estates. A magnolia tree she gifted a neighbor has grown tall and vibrant these 23 years. They call it the Jean tree, a magnificent reminder of the woman who, like this tree, was so full of life.
Her life was much more exciting and beautiful than the way she died.
In St. Petersburg, Genevieve Curtis, Fox 13 News.
Well, family members of Jean Ault are offering a $10,000 reward for any information that could lead to an arrest or credible closure of this case.